Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is your Champions League preview, match week 3. Joining me tonight to go through the detail of this, Darren. How are we doing, Darren?
Hey, Niall, how are you, buddy?
Brilliant, not a bother at all. As always, you can find us on YouTube, Dynamo Podcast Network, audio on Spotify. If you want to hit up the show, it's at _upper_tier on Twitter, or you'll get us on Facebook or on Instagram, the upper tier. Well, we're nearly halfway through the Champions League at this stage, group stage. We're 2 games in, third game coming up halfway through. Let's have a quick look at Group A. Paris Saint-Germain topping the group with 4 points based on goal difference from Club Bruges, who have been no less than the surprise package in there, with Sheriff obviously in the other group. Man City in third place on 3 points with a win and a loss, and Leipzig propping up the table as you predicted. I tipped my hat to you. We mentioned this when we were previewing the Champions League, that with the loss of the players and also the loss of the main man, the coach, they would struggle big time. What you thinking on this group before we look at this set of fixtures?
I think Bruges have done well, obviously, to pick up the 4 points. I think the point against PSG is the real big point for them, I think you could have probably foreseen the win against Leipzig, but the draw with PSG was massive for them, City have the 2 handy games now, as you would say, which is the home and away against Bruges. That's where I think we'll see City pull away from Bruges a little bit. I'd expect City to get 6 points here now, and I expect PSG to do the same, and the boys to be first and second in the group going into week 5.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it, if it doesn't go well? I mean, coming up 5:45 on Tuesday, Bruges versus Man City. Man City need a win here, don't they? They can't afford to slip up in any way.
No, they can't. But I mean, City are a good side. They shouldn't be going into a game with Bruges worried about that. Bruges have a couple of decent players. The boy that plays in the middle, Hans Vanneken's a very good player. He's involved in the Belgian national squad. I think there's a number of Premier League clubs that have been looking at him. But I think City should get a job done here, barring any an early red card or something. There's something that kind of sets the game into a different tone. City should go and beat Bruges.
They did pick up a draw against PSG, though. You know what I mean? Which means there's
they did
form there,
They did, but I don't know whether it was necessarily there, the night that they had or the night that PSG had. On the first night, I seen some of the highlights, and PSG were very poor. They were very poor.
And have been this season.
And have been. They've an embarrassment of riches there, haven't they? And I don't think Pochettino has been able to settle on kind of what's his best team, what's his best 11. I see today, I'm reading stories about Gino Wijnaldum, who at the minute looks like he's really, really regretting going to PSG. He's now kind of behind Ander Herrera in the pecking order. But it wasn't too long ago that Herrera was really, really regretting his move to PSG, because it wasn't all sunshine and lollipops for him either. So I think at PSG can be a slow burn for some of the guys to go in. They don't necessarily hit the ground running, and it can take managers a little bit of time to have faith in some of the new signings and stuff like that. You look at Messi, hasn't even kicked on the way you would have expected him with Mbappe and Neymar beside him.
Yeah, and I think, I suppose from Janie's point of view, when you think about Gini Wijnaldum, he played week in, week out for Liverpool, rarely missed a game.
Yeah.
And it was probably a bit naive of him to expect to go into a squad like that and expect to be just in there week in, week out. And the fact that he's not in there now, as you said, it might be a settling in period, but it's a tough team to get into.
Absolutely. I mean, you're looking most weeks, one of those spots is gone. Because if Marco Verratti is fit, he plays, and then I think you're looking, there's 2 other midfield spots that are up for offer. I think Herrera's played quite a bit, and so is the boy Idrissa Gueye, who was at Everton. Now,
and he's the man who's on form. He's been scoring.
He's been scoring goals. He's not naturally a goal scorer, but he's been getting forward, obviously, and stuff like that. And he's been playing quite well. But I see Wijnaldum taking that position in the long term, if I'm honest. I think Verratti's going to play no matter who's fit. And then it's going to be 2 of 3 or 4 that they have. Because don't forget, from time to time when they when they've got centre backs fit and stuff like that, they also put Marquinhos in there in the middle. He can play as that anchor in the centre and stuff like that, which would free up again maybe Verratti to take a little step forward and maybe play with Wijnaldum beside him or something like that. I wouldn't be worried if I was Wijnaldum yet. It's still very early days, you know. He's less than 10 games into his PSG career, and there's very few players that go to any team now and make a big impression in the first 10 games there.
Yeah, I suppose it depends on what he was promised, you know what I mean? Because obviously he was on the verge of putting ink to paper with Barcelona.
Yes.
And then suddenly, within days, he had signed for PSG. So someone had made a call and someone had promised him something.
Yeah, and you've obviously got this financial situation at Barcelona, which meant maybe that wasn't viable anymore, you know, because they were picking up the likes of Memphis and Aguero, and there was for every $4 they got off the payroll, they could put one back onto it. Isn't that the way how it was going? So,
and the Messi was still up in the air.
The Messi situation, there's so many variables there. I bet he's glad now he did go to PSG, whether he's playing or not, you know, because the situation at Barca it's not looking good at the moment either, is it?
Although they are somewhat stabilising, yeah, it's fair to say.
From a financial point of view, but I think on field and, you know, still in the club and stuff like that. I mean, look at what they've got going on up front. Like Memphis is their star at the minute, flanked by Luke de Jong and Martin Braithwaite. You know, it's Barcelona. It's like the Barcelona B team, really, isn't it?
Yeah, without a doubt. The other game Tuesday night is PSG versus Leipzig. Should be a PSG win, shouldn't it?
It should be. It wasn't long ago we had a PSG Leipzig semi-final, if you remember, which was quite a good game of football. And that was the year they played everything in Portugal, the semis and the final and stuff, and people were big fans of it, I remember. But Leipzig aren't what they were. You know, obviously Nagelsmann is gone and they've lost so many players out of that side. They've still got some quality in there, you know. They've still got the boy Danny Olmo, who's a very, very good player. I think the likes of Barcelona and there's been a few Premier League clubs have been linked with him. There's the boy Christopher Nkunku, again, another good footballer. And the lad Angelino that was at Manchester City looks like he's a decent footballer. So they're not terrible, but at the minute I think you're probably looking at a team that are a squad that's maybe not as strong as it used to be, and they're trying to get used to maybe a new set of instructions and tactics and stuff from a manager. And sometimes it takes a little while to get those messages across before you start seeing the best of them.
Yeah, and then you're looking at a PSG that probably already still have their eyes on a final. That's their thought process at the moment, I would imagine.
I think anything but a PSG win this year is a big letdown for PSG. I think they're going in there, they're basically looking at the three boys up front saying, you know, we've got Neymar, Messi, Mbappe. Like, we've got the best strike force in the world. I don't think you can argue with that. We've got Donnarumma, one of the premier goalkeepers in the world. We've strengthened at the back. We're solid enough in midfield and down the flanks and stuff. If PSG don't win it this year, it's going to be a big, big letdown for the club, and it's going to say an awful lot about Mauricio Pochettino.
And they still have to try and recapture their league again, and their league form has been poor.
Yeah.
But you see this group panning out with a PSG, Man City, interswappable top two.
Yeah, I think it'll basically be on the game at the Etihad, you know, for top spot.
I'd love Bruges to upset this group. It'd be fantastic.
Listen, I think from a neutral point of view or from a footballing point of view, we always like to root for the underdog, don't we?
Yeah. 100%.
But I just think City will take 6 off Bruges, which will almost kill them off. It would mean beating PSG and beating Leipzig to get to 10. And even at that, I think PSG and City could still finish with more than that and leave them in third, you know. Yeah. But I don't see that happening anyway, so.
Absolutely. Let's move on to Group B. Liverpool, top of the table with 6 points. 5 goal difference from 2 games. Atletico second. 2 big games coming up. Atletico away and a home for Liverpool. Porto and AC Milan kind of propping up the table. I suppose Porto could probably play themselves back into contention, depending on the 2 results against Atletico.
Against AC, you mean?
No, the 2 Liverpool
from
games
the Liverpool games,
bring a Porto back into it against the AC games. Yeah.
Possibly. Like Liverpool are very comfortable at the minute. Atletico, though, have been a little bit of a thorn in the side of Liverpool. They don't seem to like to set up against those Simeone sides to keep things very, very tight and stuff like that. And they're very dogged and kind of resilient, I don't think this is easy for Liverpool. I think if Liverpool got out with 2 draws, they'd be happy, because I think they wouldn't have lost games. They're not allowing Atletico to step ahead of them in the table. And then you'd expect them to go and be Milan and Porto again. And then end up with 14 points and be very, very comfortable at the top. Now, my fear for Liverpool would be is if they don't get, minimum 2 points, if they get less, maybe they get 1 or they get a draw or only maybe they get 2 defeats. Listen, it's highly, highly unlikely. But I just think if any side could do it to Liverpool, I think it's Atletico, because I just think they're a little bit of a tricky side for you guys. And I think you go through periods of having those tricky teams to play against. And I think at the minute they kind of have a little bit of a psychological edge maybe against you guys, That's the only thing can open the group up,
Yeah, safe to say after last season we probably owed them one,
100%. And listen, that's great for you guys to be able to say, it's a nice little rod up the arse when you're going out saying, we owe these boys one. But it doesn't always work out like that, because sometimes you get involved in something that, you have a tactic to go out and win a game, but all of a sudden you think these did us over last season. You go out hell for leather and then they pick you off and you're going, Jesus, does that just happen again? It can be easy to happen,
Yeah, which is kind of what happened in those games, actually, the way they picked us off,
Yeah, it is. Absolutely.
What are you thinking in this group? Liverpool and Atletico to go through, or do you think Porto could slide in?
No, I think Liverpool and Atletico go through handy. I think Milan might end up third. I think AC will do all right against Porto. Over the 2 legs, over the two games, the home and the away. Wouldn't be surprised to see Milan get kind of 4 points and get a bit closer to Liverpool and Atletico,
Well, that could be an interesting conundrum, couldn't it? If Liverpool were to beat Atletico on Tuesday and Milan were to beat Porto, Milan would only be a point off Atletico.
Yeah, that's. I think that could happen, to be honest with you.
That could make it very interesting.
And it could even go the opposite way, that if Atletico will win a couple of games, you boys still end up 6 or 7, and Milan win a couple of games. All of a sudden, it kind of, accordions that group up and squeezes them all together, doesn't it?
Could come down to that game in the San Siro then. That'd be interesting.
Listen, it'd make it good for the neutral, but I wouldn't. I don't think Liverpool would go into a game in the San Siro with any fear. They're a better side than AC Milan are. Barring a complete upset or anything like that, I expect Liverpool to go through this group comfortably enough.
Absolutely. Group C, let's touch on Group C. This seems a foregone conclusion, doesn't it? Ajax, Dortmund, Besiktas and Sporting. I'd say Sporting have been very disappointing, haven't they? But Ajax and Dortmund top of the group with 6 points so far from 2 games. Besiktas and Sporting would look like they're out of it already, wouldn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Sporting have just over the years become a selling club. Anytime there's any sort of a whiff off a player, he's out the door. You'd obviously had Bruno who went to United. You'd the boy. You'd the boy that went to Betis as well from Sporting. Plays defensive midfielder, William Carvalho.
Yeah.
And you've also the lad Nuno who went to PSG. So like anyone that's looked anyway decent at Sporting, or anyone that's got involved in that sort of Portuguese national squad, hasn't lasted very long, and they've cashed in their chips on them quite quickly. It is a selling club, and I think they're going to struggle, even in the next few years, to maybe to get regular Champions League football.
Yeah, absolutely. Group D is the kind of shock of the tournament with Sheriff. Top of the group with 6 points, 2 wins and 2 games, goal difference of 3. Real Madrid second on 3, Inter on 1, and Shakhtar Donetsk on 1, propping up the table.
Bonkers. It's absolutely bonkers to look at,
Yeah, so we have Inter going to Milan to face Inter on match day 3. We have Shakhtar are at home to Real Madrid. Could be interesting toys.
Could be interesting. I think this is where Inter have a chance to get back into this group. Albeit difficult because Sheriff will be very, very confident after their 2 wins and stuff like that, and they've done so well. But I think Inter will see this as their platform back into the group. They'll be thinking home and away against Sheriff. We pick up 2 wins, we're right back in this.
Sheriff pick up a win here, Inter could be out. Could be in serious trouble.
Well, they'll certainly be close, all right, because it'll be 9-3 then, won't it? And they'll be looking for favours and goal difference to try and get them through it,
It'll be 9-3, assuming Real don't beat Shakhtar. If Real beat Shakhtar, then it's going to be 9-6, 1-1.
Yeah, it could be tight, all right. But I'd be thinking that Inter will take 6 out of the next 2, even against group leader Sheriff. I think they'll get 6 points and they'll be right back in this group. And I think even coming into match day 6, you could have something on the table here where nearly all 4 of these teams are still in the shake-up for a first and a second spot. Because I don't think Madrid are going to go to Shakhtar and find life easy either.
So you're not going to gamble your budget gains on Sheriff winning the Champions League, no?
I'm not, just for now, no. I might hang on to them for now.
Group B. Group B is an interesting one. Bayern Munich, Benfica, Dynamo Kiev, and Barcelona propping up the group.
Yeah.
I'd say it's probably the first time in Champions League history we've had 2 group games and Barcelona are bottom of the group.
Yeah, it's a very sad indictment of where the Barcelona squad is at the minute, I think we spoke about it the other day when we were talking about the Newcastle takeover and stuff. I still see a couple of these Barcelona players looking for a way out of here. The likes of Marc-Andre ter Stegen, Philippe Coutinho. We know the boy Ousmane Dembele. He looks like he's trying to get out there, and Barca look like they're trying to get him off the leash as well because he's on big money there.
Heavily linked with Liverpool.
Heavily linked with Liverpool and United. So yeah, like the Premier League is calling. Don't be surprised to see Newcastle, in the mix for a player like that. Obviously you got Dembele, and you could play Saint-Maximin on the other wing. Like if you put Dembele, Saint-Maximin, and get a decent striker in there, all of a sudden, you've a little bit going on for you. Now listen, they've so many other areas they need to strengthen Newcastle, but it would be a nice start if they could pick up Dembele in January and a decent striker, and that'd get them a few goals. I think that'd solidify them in the Premier League till next year, and then they could have another look at what's available in the summer and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. But what are you thinking here? Are you thinking Bayern Benfica?
Thinking Bayern Benfica. Benfica are playing well.
Yeah.
They've got the boy playing up front for them that's getting a lot of headlines. His name is evading me at the minute, but I know United have looked at him. He's a tall, kind of a rangy striker. Nunez, I think it is, or something like this, and he's a good footballer, the boy. There's a lot of top clubs around Europe who are eyeballing him because obviously there's only one Erling Haaland. So not everyone's going to end up with Erling Haaland. And they're looking at, if we don't get Erling Haaland, what else is out there? And the lad at Benfica has got an awful lot of, he's got an awful lot of glances from some of the big teams around Europe at the minute. I think he'll do enough to get Benfica through here. I think they're a decent side, Benfica. I don't think they're any better than decent, and I think whoever gets them in the next round will be rubbing their hands. But I think in that group and with the way Barcelona are at the minute, I think I'd be happy enough to say Benfica will get a spot here.
That Kiev game on Wednesday is huge, isn't it?
Yeah, massive. Absolutely massive.
Yeah, let's move on. Group F: Atalanta, Young Boys, Manchester United, and Villarreal. An extremely tight group. Atalanta topping it on 4, Villarreal propping it up on 1. But you boys are, I think, away to Atalanta, is it, or home?
We are home to Atalanta.
On Wednesday night. Yeah.
On Wednesday night, that's right, yeah.
Massive game.
Absolutely huge. As big as the Villarreal game was and getting a result, it's worthless unless you go and get another 3 points against Atalanta. Like, we need to beat Atalanta on Wednesday night. Absolutely no question about it. I'm not too worried about what the performance looks like. This is all about results right now. Like we've seen teams over the years clamber through the group stages in the Champions League, and all of a sudden when you got to that February, March, and the group stages was kicking, or the knockout stage was kicking back off again, that they were at it, you know. So I think navigating this group stage is important for United, especially this year, with the squad we have, and obviously the pressure that's kind of mounting on Solskjaer and stuff like that, you know. This won't be easy though. These are good sides. There's a lot of good players in the team, and they score goals. They're not overly givish at the back, you know. This will be very, very tough. And we'll probably be going into it with Victor Lindelof and Eric Boy, which is a worry.
If you're lucky, because if Boy plays at the weekend, he might not be available then for the Wednesday.
The glass man, you know. Absolutely. Yeah, this could be tough. I hear Maguire today saying he's on the way back soon. How soon, I don't know. Will he make it for next Wednesday? I'd surprised if he did. You know, I'd be kind of hoping on the Sunday against Liverpool we might see him. And I'd be, as a fan, I'd be saying, listen, if you think you're anyway close for Atalanta, hang on to it and keep it for Sunday. We'll have you then get another few days under the belt training, and then we'll get you back in the Liverpool game, you know.
What do you make of all this stuff coming out from the club at the moment in regards to the coaching setup, in regards to the training, especially with McKenna?
It's hard to know. Like, you know, I get the whole thing. There's no smoke without fire, but how reliable are these sources? You know,
this was in the Athletic. They're pretty reliable, aren't they?
They're certainly more reliable than other newspapers. But would I say they're gospel? I certainly wouldn't.
They wouldn't be as reliable as us now.
Obviously not. But listen, is it a thing I could foresee? Yeah, 100%. There's not a lot of experience there in the coaching setup. And I would wonder what the day-to-day sessions go like. We've spoken about this in the past. We've spoken, and only recently, about how certain players are making the same mistakes they were making 18 months ago. And how maybe things haven't been spotted or things haven't been worked on in a way that was gonna get everyone that extra 5 or 10%, which will pull you into a side. You know what I mean? Like if no, go on ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say to you, the interesting story that came out today wasn't the quality of the actual session or the setup of the session. That apparently the sessions and the drills are really, really good. The talk that was coming out today was how McKenna was speaking down to the players like they were children. And some of the players didn't appreciate that. And I can understand that because you've now brought in a different caliber of player. And obviously, like, you wouldn't talk to Fred the same way you talk to Ronaldo, or the same way you talk to Varane or Cavani, or these guys are decorated players. And
yes, absolutely.
We did highlight that at the start of the season as well, that Ollie would have a tough task in terms of man management of these players he's now being given that are like cream of the crop.
I would have heard slightly different things today about like even the quality of the sessions and how, you know, they feel like the lads that are delivering the sessions, i.e. Carrick and McKenna, aren't necessarily experienced enough, and therefore the sessions aren't necessarily what the lads feel like they need them to be. You know, either or, if it's A or if it's B, it's not a great situation, is it?
No, you know, because I mean, if they're judging it based on experience, then the man at the top, what's he doing there?
Well, are they questioning him, or are they questioning the coaching side of it? Because I don't believe Solskjaer runs the session day to day. I think he has a more managerial role.
Yeah, but what I'm saying to you is, if they're calling into question the experience of the coaching staff, I mean, surely to God, you have to look at the figurehead up there and go, well, where's the experience there in reality? You know what I mean?
You could. But for me, they're a little bit separate. Now, listen, is it an argument? Absolutely, it is. You know, but if I had read things differently, and again, we don't know for certain, but if I'd read things differently and they were questioning him and his tactics and stuff, I might have said, you know what, we can't really argue here, because as United fans, we've questioned it, haven't we? Well, certainly I have as a United fan, you know, and I mean, you're a neutral, you're a Liverpool fan. You don't want to see us do well, but you would still say, who's calling the tactics here, you know, and what are the tactics? Because at times we look devoid of any sort of tactic, and you know, it's strange.
There just seems to be a lot there, doesn't there? And I mean, I'm not trying to dwell on it or make a big deal.
No.
You're looking at Ronaldo stomping down the tunnel, absolutely pissed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then you're looking at a lot of talk coming out about, you know, some talk about, you know, selection process, some talk about, you know, coaching, the actual setup of the coaching, the ability of the coaches that are there, you know, which calls into question. When this stuff starts coming out, you have to call into question the whole setup.
Of course.
Solskjaer is not going to suddenly go out and can the boys, is he? I mean, the one thing about him that you put up there as a positive, he is loyal nearly to a fault. There's no doubt about that.
100%.
But if you're getting rumblings like that, if you've got world-class players like this going, you know, this isn't really what we expect here, you know what I mean? What's he going to do? Is he going to bring the boys into an office and say, the lads want a few more press-ups and sit-ups? Or what's the story here? You know what I mean? Like, it's...
And it may be a thing where the boys are saying, tactically, the message, we're not getting the message. Or you know, that maybe the message isn't coming across enough. Yeah. Or maybe they're not hammering down the details of how they want stuff to be done. You know, and again, you get away with an awful lot more if you're maybe a different figurehead. I heard talk of some of Fergie's halftime team talks, you know, and one of the things he used to tell them was he say, get them up off their seats, you know, make the fans enjoy the football, and when they start enjoying it, you'll be playing better football. You know, You get away with that because you're Alex Ferguson. If you're someone else and you maybe say, I want you to go out and make the fans enjoy the football, the lads are looking going, but what the fuck do you want us to do? Do you know what I mean? So that I think you get away with an awful lot more.
I suppose when you look at serial winners there, Ronaldo's come in, Varane's come in, Cavani's there. These are all serial winners. They've won it at the highest level. So they kind of know. They know what the level of training and drills and everything should be if the expectation is to win silverware. They know what work has to be put in on a training field. I'm sure you don't have to tell Cristiano Ronaldo what kind of shift he needs to put in if he wants to be successful. And I just wonder, Eddie, looking at this and going, this is not what we did at Real Madrid when we won leagues. This is not what we did at Juve when we won leagues or whatever.
And I'd say that's closer to the truth.
What's coming out?
Absolutely. The likes of Varane and Ronaldo that spend time at Real, Pogba and Ronaldo spent time at Juve. Sancho was in Dortmund, you know, a very well coached, technical, good football team. Yeah. You know, maybe even Bruno at Sporting and stuff like that, you know. Cavani at PSG, all of these lads would have come from a good quality of coaching and things might have been done a different way. And now they're looking around going, yeah, this isn't what winning teams do. This isn't how winning teams train.
Yeah, a level of expectation in training that you bring to your level of expectation in matches to lead to success. And I wonder if that's where the disjointment is.
The fall off is, yeah. You could very well be right with that, to be honest with you. That to me sounds more kind of logical. Yeah, logical and plausible, you know. And yeah, but either way, it's rumblings aren't good at this stage of it, you know.
Yeah. What are you expecting out of this? Do you think Atalanta and United?
Do I think Atalanta and United?
It's a tough group, isn't it? Villarreal are still very
It's a tough group. It is a tough group. Well, listen, I expect Villarreal to pick up bare minimum 4 points against Young Boys, maybe 6. If they pick up 6 points, they're right back in the mix, and then it's back down to what happens between us and Atalanta, you know. What would I be asking for? Okay, if from a United point of view, we can go out and get 4 points against Atalanta, win at home, draw away, you're up to 7. You win your home game against Young Boys, you've got 10. And then, you know, you might need a draw away in Spain to get you through a group stage. Would we take that after the first defeat? I think we probably would.
I think going through in that table there, which when we look on the face of it, we would have said is a reasonable draw when the draw came out. But when you look at it now, you're thinking that table could easily flip on its head in the course of 2 games.
very easily.
And we know Emery isn't the type of guy who's going to finish bottom of a group table without a shadow of a doubt. So.
No, he's got too much experience, hasn't he, in these European competitions?
And they've a good side.
They have a good side, and you know, don't forget, you got a little bit lucky in the night at Old Trafford because they'd know Gerard Moreno.
100%.
You know, on another night, I think the boy that got the goal is a very average player, Paco Alcacer. Danjuma was unbelievable down the left-hand side. He absolutely tormented Diego Dalot. And if he does the same against Spain, Moreno's going to score more than one.
Is United's final game away to Villarreal?
Yeah.
Okay, that's going to be interesting.
That's where it'll now. Here's the thing. At that stage, are we looking at a table that maybe the two of them need a draw to go through? So what suits you might suit me. I don't know, because you're probably thinking Atalanta are picking up 3 points away against young boys at that stage. You know, so the big games now is going to be for Atalanta will be against United, which will let them know whether they're right in the mix or whether they're kind of chasing uphill a little bit.
Yeah, I could say in the next two games that table really tightening up. That's
absolutely
quite competitive now.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Group G: Salzburg, Sevilla, Wolfsburg, and Lille. Again, not dissimilar to your own table. 4-2-2-1. Salzburg up top there with 4 points.
Yeah.
Lille down the bottom, which I think is a surprise coming off the back of a French league. But again, you had spoke about this earlier in the competition.
Massive. I'm very surprised that Lille. I've only got the point. They've got some good players. They did make wholesale changes, or they did allow a lot of players to leave the club and stuff like that. So there is that. But they've still got some good players out there. The boy Yazici, the Turkish lad's a nice footballer. You've got Angel Gomez, who's ex-Man United. He's playing there. He's doing okay. I think you could see Lille back in the mix after these two games.
Sevilla are very good on the road. They're dogged.
They are, but I think Lille are going to go out with the attitude of, at the minute we're out, where we can go and play a little bit freer, and I think they'll be a more dangerous animal when they do. I think Sevilla are good. They're solid, and they've got a bit of pedigree in Europe over the last few years, obviously, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're worldies. Like, you're looking at Rakitic in there, and he's still one of their better players. And would he play anywhere else? Like, would he play in the Premiership in the minute? I don't think so. No. So, and he's still one of their kind of stars.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, sorry, the only thing I will say about Sevilla is they've got goals in the boy El-Nassiri. He's a good footballer.
Yeah.
He's a good footballer,
Yeah. And they're very scabby in defence.
They're scabby. The boy Bruno in goal is a good keeper, isn't he? And
absolutely.
he does well. But and they still got Jules Koundé and Diego Carlos. So listen, they're no pushovers, but I think Lille will be really disappointed where they are at the minute. And I think they've enough to suggest that a couple of good performances, they could get back into this. Might be wrong, they might be sitting on one after 4 games, but that's where I am for now,
A win on Wednesday night, they could go second.
This is it.
This is it.
And listen, we could see 4 draws over the next 2 games as well, because it's been like that so far. Yeah. You could see a team go through on a very low number, 8 or 9 maybe.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely looking at that table there, 9 could easily see you through.
Yeah.
Group H, interesting group here. Juventus, Chelsea, Zenit, and Malmo. I don't see anything except a Juventus, Chelsea in whatever order.
Yes.
I know Zenit had picked up. They had a win, hadn't they? They had 1 win on 1.
They beat Malmo, didn't they?
Yeah, but they put up a decent fight against Chelsea.
They did. I think that's what it was, though. Like, I don't think they were ever going to win the game. I think they were just dogged, and they made it hard. Now, listen, that could do well against Juve, because Juve aren't free scoring at the minute, and that sort of dogged resilience, that could give Zenit a chance against Juve. And I mean,
tough place to travel to as well.
Absolutely. I think we all expect Chelsea to pick up 6 points in the next 2 games and be on the verge of qualification after the the first 4 games with 9 points. You know what I mean? But again, you don't know if Tuchel decides to rest a couple of players. And when you rest a couple in Champions League, you take 1 or 2 out, all of a sudden, it can be a little more difficult, you know?
I think there's too much quality there. I'd say he could rest 5 players and still stump Malmo, no? I don't think so. He
should, but we've seen it before. Like, United rested a couple in the game against young boys, and then obviously Wan-Bissaka gets sent off early on, and then you're in trouble.
Level of quality though, isn't it?
I don't know if it is now. You know, like, you would say young boys in Malmo are of a similar caliber.
No, but what I mean is, I would think that the quality on Chelsea's bench is a bit better than the quality on United's bench. Would you not agree?
In spots, not on the whole, and not in every position. You know, like, you still got Timo Werner, who I don't just at the minute. Like, I'd be if you were taking Lukaku out and playing Werner, although he got his goal last night, it was a good goal. You know, he still looks.
He's still starting to show a bit of form, though, isn't he? He's starting to come back marginally.
Very slowly, you know. Like, we did see, albeit Torres and Shevchenko, who were having nightmares at Chelsea, scored the odd goal or two, and you thought that they were turning a corner, and then maybe they didn't, because they were 2 of the biggest strikers in world football when they came to Chelsea, and it didn't work out for either of them.
But Timo could be one of those changes that he makes. He might not necessarily feature against Malmo. He might want to keep.
And you see, I would be thinking he might play him through the middle to try and get the confidence back up, but maybe it not work out. I don't know. It's.
I expect them to take 6 points off Malmo, no matter who they put out anyway.
They should, and I mean, even if it's tight, you've got the lads off the bench to bring on, the lads that you've rested and stuff like that. I don't know what their league games are like over the next couple of weeks. That will obviously tell you a tale of what he's going to play as well. If you've something handy, if you've Norwich at the weekend, he goes, listen, we can play whoever. Whereas if he's away, one of the better sides, he might say, right, listen, this is what we'll do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think they've got for this half of the season, most of those games are done at this stage, aren't they? They played Arsenal, they played Spurs, they played us.
They've got us in a few weeks, all right, but
you've got us and then got them, haven't you?
There's 10 days and it maybe something like that. So yeah, there could be, you might have us. It might be an easier game than Malmo.
If you rack up any more injuries, you're going to start looking like us last season.
We might end up giving poor Donny a game at this stage.
At least a few minutes anyway. You have to put him in the shop window for Newcastle, don't you?
For Newcastle,
He showed him something that he has. But Juventus and Chelsea here, isn't it?
Juventus and Chelsea here, yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, it's interesting. This series of 2 games now coming up. It's going to be very, very interesting. It's always interesting as well when you get into that middle stage where you've got the home and away leg with the same team. It's an interesting conundrum based on how the table accordions in and out,
and even who you draw on those 2 weeks. Do you know? Like, for me, from a United point of view, we probably would have been happier going away and losing to Atlanta first. Atlanta, and then picking up your win with Villarreal, knowing you were going to go home and away against young boys, hoping to pick up 6 there, and you know what I mean. But that's not the way it is. It means we've probably got to play one of the better teams in the group over the middle too.
And Liverpool have an interesting October because we're away all month except for the Brighton game last day of the month, really.
Which even at home won't be an easy game, the way Brighton are playing and with how organised they are and stuff like that.
And especially when we won't have seen Anfield in 3 to 4 weeks. Interesting. But this has been your Champions League preview, match week 3. Certainly going to be very interesting. There could be a lot of very upset people come Wednesday evening.
Let's just hope I'm not one of them.
Or me.
I'm going to the United Liverpool game in 2 weeks, but I'm also hoping to get to a Champions League game maybe after Christmas. But if it's looking tight, I might end up in that young boys game in November. I'm thinking, come on, lads, we need to get through this.
Well, the beauty for the new year, if you get the Europa League, it'll be slightly cheaper. So it's not all bad.
I just can't be dealing with it. I only go to Champions League games to hear that music and to watch the lads shake that football in the middle of the pitch when their hair stand up on the back of your neck. and you can see your breath in front of you, and you just think this is what it's fucking all about, you know.
We're going to be doing a huge preview for that United Liverpool game. It's going to feel like a battle of the bands on this Monday, like a Monday mashup. Myself, yourself, Mark, and Dino and Craig will all be on, and leather will fly. There's no doubt about it.
I think I'm gonna try and do a couple of check-ins through the day, like you did on your visit to Anfield recently. You know,
Definitely.
Make a few little videos on the way across and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. You make a few videos and send them on, and what we'll do is we'll edit them and put them up as like a on the road with Heavy D or something like that. We'll do something.
Yeah,
Heavy D and the boys or something like that. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was tempted to tell the boys would we do a watch along, and I was going, nah, I don't think so. I don't like. I still don't like those watch alongs. I just don't like them.
Well, when anything can happen, and you know, at least afterwards, if you've been beaten, and you go into it, and you go, I've been beaten, I'm gonna take this. You know, I have to fucking take this like a man. Whereas you're watching it live. For years, I haven't been able to watch football in a pub because I'd end up murdering someone. You know, it just wouldn't work. Like,
as I say to people at times, not every match needs a match reaction, and I'm just
no, it definitely doesn't.
Absolutely. Well, listen, a pleasure doing this Champions League preview.
Thanks, man.
We will be on next week doing a preview for that big game without a shadow.
Absolutely.
Arguably in some corners, the biggest game of the season without a shadow.
It's the biggest game in world football. Absolutely. Let's not fuck around here, you know.
Absolutely. Until next time, Spotify for the audio versions of the show, Dynamo Podcast Network on YouTube for the videos. We will always encourage you to watch the videos, even though you might enjoy Spotify looking at both of us, but however. But until next time, Darren, a pleasure.
Thanks, pal.
Cheers, bud.
Take it easy.